Hi everyone, how's everyone doing here today? Thank you for watching. And recently we've been seeing still more an uptick of people posting videos on TikTok and everything, going into full war retaliation mode, where they're saying things like, oh, the liberals, you better watch out, civil war is coming. And it's like, you took a shot at our president, so, we're going to even the score. Just stupid things like that and everything. I could understand initially, given some level of ignorance. Yeah, I get the anger that somebody made an attempt on a former president, which I still thought was shocking, and I say it's wrong, and that I don't approve of political violence, as I talked about in a previous video. But the follow-up some of you guys are doing is just absolutely ridiculous, and it's just making it worse. Like, what is the goal here? What, you want to intimidate something like this and that? But what some people don't realize is that I checked. I don't know the identity of the shooter that made an attempt on Donald Trump's life. I just know that he made some donation to a liberal organization, but then he was a registered Republican. He was conservative. He was one of your own. So it's like, why are you making such an open threat to liberals as if they did something wrong? Okay? And just to be clear, I know some of you are going to go for the whataboutism. You're going to cherry pick a few things. Yeah, there's been some incidents on the left in the past, like some example, like Maxine Waters, she put out a speech, saying it's okay to harass politicians. No, it's not okay. I don't remember the specifics of that, but regardless, the outcome, that's not acceptable. I don't think that's okay. Kathy Griffin, who is not a politician, she's a comedian, actress, she held up a bloody service head of Trump. Obviously, it was a fake, it was a prop, but still, I don't think that's appropriate either. Okay, I'm admitting I don't think that's appropriate. Recently, Biden, during one of his rallies or speeches, he mentioned something about putting a bullseye on Donald Trump's head. He was a little more subtle about it, but still, I'll even admit that's not good either. But the one thing I can say is that, given the reaction you're seeing now from the left, is a stark difference, in contrast from what we've seen on the right in the past. Specifically, Nancy Pelosi, when her husband was assaulted. Trump and Don Jr., they made jokes. I talked about this before, a lot of people were laughing about it. And then recently, right after the incident with Trump, J.D. Vance, he puts out a post blaming the Democrats and Biden. Of course, because finger pointing, that's the only thing to do. You got no evidence, you don't know for a fact, you can't prove it, but it doesn't matter. Who needs proof when, you got accusations? Okay? It is just absolutely ridiculous. And now people are all putting out these videos of saying, we're going to get our guns, there's going to be a civil war, we're going to show you liberals. Don't ever bring up January 6th again. No, we should bring up January 6th. Why? Because that's another example of things on the right. As I mentioned before, when the attack happened on Trump, Biden, Pelosi, Schumer, I think AOC too, they put out statements saying, we do not approve of political violence. What happened was wrong. And they even expressed sympathies and concerns over Trump's health and safety, and that expressed relief that he did not die, that he survived the attack. That's the proper thing to do. The one thing some of you guys I don't hear too much on is the one of the members at the rally who was shot and killed. Unfortunately, a stray bullet killed him. And from what I heard, Biden actually reached out to that family to express his, condolences and sympathies. According to a recent article, she didn't take the call. She didn't want to. She didn't think it was appropriate. But she didn't speak ill of Biden. But at least she put it out there that, he made an attempt. And as far as I know, and maybe something's changed, Donald Trump has made no effort to reach out to that family. You would think someone in him would say, call her up, talk to her, tell her how sorry you are, this and that. But as far as I know, no. Maybe he's done something recently. I'll at least leave that open-ended. But as far as I can tell, he hasn't done anything. And you would think there would be some common decency. Because sometimes people are saying oh, Donald Trump's reflecting. I don't think so. I think he's going to continue to do what he does. And we're also seeing other members on the right, the MAGA sycophants, who are behaving just as atrociously. And it's this constant thing where the right, the MAGA, likes to rate Donald Trump on a curve and just go by double standards, meaning rules and behavior apply to thee, but not to me, not to us, not to the candidates that we support. It is absolute hypocrisy, it's not patriotic, and it is wrong. Now, I realize, to the MAGA, to the Trump supporters out there, you have no control over what Donald Trump says or what the sycophants, like the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Carrie Lakes, what they do. But here's the reality. You have a choice. You have control over your own actions. That's what I mentioned about January 6th. We should keep talking about it. Because that was when, at the time, he was the president. His administration was coming to an end. And, he stirred up a crowd and sent an angry mob to the Capitol. I don't want to hear the excuses about snippets of cherry-picked from Tucker Carlson. I don't want to hear about BLM and Antifa. It was an insurrection. And he stoked it up. It's not just about what he said on the day of, the event itself. I know you guys like to isolate that one. Well, he said march peacefully. He didn't go there. He sent you guys there. I'm talking about the ones who actually were foolish enough to do that. And there was a lot of communications back and forth, not just from Trump, but from others in his inner circle that led up to that incident, okay? This wasn't just some, hey, he said something and he didn't know that was happening, okay? He knew exactly what he was doing. And he could have called the National Guard or tried to stop it, but he let several hours go by while cops were being assaulted. So spare me the excuses and the phony outrage, okay? You don't get to scream foul when somebody else does it, but when the people on your side are doing it, you just turn a blind eye or you give it a pass. Okay? I will say out loud, we all need to tone it down. It's even people on the left. If somebody says something inappropriate, and again, like I've talked about this before, what's all the talk about civil war? Against who exactly? What kind of civil war do you have in mind? Especially now. Let's say there were 10,000 of you that have guns of your own. What are you going to do? I mean, how are you going to initiate this war? How are you going to declare a war? You're going to go to D.C., do something stupid? You don't think they have things amped up with security there? You think after a recent attempt on a former president's life that Joe Biden and his Secret Service haven't upped the security there? They did it at Trump Tower, rightfully so. You don't think other federal agencies are now on high alert, say be careful because, things are still a little heated right now? The one thing I've also talked about as far as stochastic terrorism and in relation to January 6th is that if you're still thinking of doing something stupid, if you have to put out more content and threaten violence, you're becoming a part of the problem. But worse, I say, once you go down that path, you got two options, just two options, and I'm being serious. You either are going to jail or you're going to get an early grave. So make sure you have a lawyer on retainer or make sure your affairs in order. As far as your will and your beneficiaries, I am being dead serious. I am not kidding. You want some examples? As if January 6th wasn't enough, how many people are in prison and one woman lost her life? You guys had a choice. You didn't have to march there. During when the FBI did the search of Mar-a-Lago in relation to the documents case, yes, initiated a search warrant. Perfectly within their rights, perfectly within their investigation. Somebody with a gun, he decided he was going to teach the FBI a lesson after Trump started complaining and he went to the FBI with a gun. Guess what? He got gunned down. He threw his life away for nothing. I guess he really taught them a lesson. And there was somebody else who was just putting out threats to Biden. To be fair, I don't know if he was directly motivated by something Trump said or somebody on the right extreme said or did, but he started posting on social media threats to Biden. And I guess he posted one too many because it caught the FBI's attention. They went down to investigate. And I don't know the details of what exchange, but he too lost his life. I guess going to prison didn't sit well with him, so he tried to put up a fight. I don't know if any FBI's got killed in the process, but the person that was posting those threats, he lost his life. Again, another one. Threw his life away for nothing, just like Ashley Babbitt. I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead. I'm really not. I'm trying to be respectful here. But the bottom line is, the point I'm making, we can't control what politicians say, but we can control our actions. And the next somebody says something like using terms like bloodbath, using rhetoric from Hitler, or giving a wink and a nod, you have a choice. You can either react to it or you can just say, no, I don't like that type of rhetoric. I think that's wrong. Maybe you're going to still support Donald Trump, but like I said, if you choose to start taking things into your own hands and doing foolish things like that, posting content, making threats to the president, you're putting yourself at risk, all for nothing. And what's even more bizarre is that Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's done it too, like threats to Pelosi, and Carrie Lake, who made that one remark about her Glock, and she put out a bunch of lies, which led to people getting death threats, because she just can't be an adult and accept the truth that she lost the election for governor of Arizona. They were recently interviewed, and coincidentally, when they were pressed on some of their rhetoric and some of the things that are going on, there was other stuff like in relation to comments that were made about England. But what did they do? They did the usual thing that MAGA does. They play the victim, they get all angry, they steamroll, they don't answer the questions, and they were given very direct questions that were simple to answer, and they did not want to answer them. And they, went into the whole pivot, whataboutism, blame game. Oh, and on top of that, they said, it's the media's fault. No, it's not the media. It's your fault because of the things you say. Words matter. Actions, sometimes words can speak louder than actions. And when you say things that get people triggered, that can lead to it. And I think they're at the point where they know this and they put that stuff out there. And guess what? There's no accountability on their part because they can just say, oh, I didn't know people were going to do anything violent. I didn't say do anything violent. Till that's just like when Trump and Rudy Giuliani made those accusations against the 2 black poll workers. I think it was in Georgia. They started receiving death threats. During the trial, and started posting jury information. Regardless of how you feel about the trials, making death threats to people that you don't even know isn't the answer. Putting out videos saying, you're going to go civil war or full retaliation, or, telling the liberals to beware, is not the answer. You're feeding into the problem. And again, like I said, it wasn't even a liberal. It was a conservative. It was whether your own. These people, Marjorie Greene, Trump and all them, they have like zero self-awareness. They're all quick to blame some other people, but they never reflect on their own actions. And again, you can't control what they say, but you can control what you say and do. So I say, let's just tone it down altogether. Not that I'm going out saying violent things. If anything, I've advised people not to commit acts of violence because of the outcome. You're just going to throw your life away. It is not worth it. Okay? When I tell people we are going to stand up to Trump, I mean that at the ballot box. I'm talking ballots, not bullets. When I say get more involved, that means do things within the boundaries of the law. Volunteering, donating, canvassing, phone banking, do it right, and voting. Again, ballots, not bullets. I don't need a gun to go out there and prove to everyone that I'm right or to prove my point. I just talk about it. And guess what? It is well within our rights to criticize our president. In fact, in some degree, it's our responsibility. Because these are the people we elected or are voting for. So, when you criticize and call out a president or any other politician for their behavior, that's not necessarily inciting violence. When Donald Trump uses rhetoric from Hitler, which he did, like poisoning the blood of our country, demonizing migrants, calling them vermin, that's from Mein Kampf. So yeah, when some people regard him as a Nazi or a fascist, they're just calling him out for his behavior. That's him doing it. You shouldn't be taking it out on us or the media. You should be you should be putting posts about your president, saying, hey, don't say stuff like that. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene puts out threats and everything, and they criticize her behavior, some of her racism, or Carrie Lake's lies, because there is proof that they are lying, that what they do is racist. Calling a racist person racist isn't antagonizing violence, or instigating it, it's calling out the behavior for what it is, okay? You don't want to be regarded as Hitler? Don't use any of his rhetoric. You don't want to be regarded as a fascist? Don't say you're going to go like dictator day one and that you want to do away with the Constitution. That is fascist-like behavior, and it is not patriotic. We're calling it out for what it is, Don't blame us. Blame the people that you're supporting that are saying these things. Because, again, it all boils down to them. You have no control over it, but you can at least be self-aware and look at what they're doing and say, hey, you know what? He's right. He is using rhetoric from Hitler. And if you're so mad at us about saying stuff like that, you else should be mad about? You know who else regarded Donald Trump as Hitler? You ready for it? J.D. Vance. Yes, the vice president nominee back in the day regarded Donald Trump as Hitler. Gee, I wonder why. Of course, he's going to deny it and try and pivot away from that because he's made a hard right turn and has gone full Trump bootlicking because he wants to be VP. But in the end, he's no more patriotic than Trump is, by doing stuff like that. So, again, let's tone it down, please. And like I said, the next person that loses the election, when Trump loses in November 2024, and he starts stirring up things like voter fraud and everything, you have a choice to say, no, I'm not going to believe that anymore. He's going to try and maybe do another January 6th. That wouldn't surprise me. You have a choice. Say, no, I'm not storming the Capitol. I'm not going to go out with a gun and do something violent. I'm not going to break the law. I'm just going to say, hey, We lost the election. Time to move on. I've supported candidates that lost too. At no time did I ever scream foul or voter fraud or say, you know what, I'm going to go out and teach them a lesson. I'm going to teach Republicans and conservatives a lesson. Quite the opposite. I just take it like a man and say, okay, we lost. Let's focus on the elections that we can win and what we can do now to bring about change for the benefit of all Americans. That's the patriotic way. Not through violence, not through, domestic terrorism, but by working together as Americans and supporting one another. And supporting the right candidates, not the ones that use stochastic terrorism and other tactics, to stir up violence. So, again, the choice is up to you. So I'm really hoping, in fact, I'm asking you, please, make the right choices. Okay? Anyway, thank you for watching. I really hope you understand.